Jasmine's hands trembled as she scrubbed the marble floor, her knees aching against the cold stone. The laughter echoed through the penthouse, cruel, mocking, deliberate. She didn't look up. She never looked up anymore. "Did you actually think," Richard Blackwell's voice dripped with contempt, "that someone like you could ever belong in a place like this?" His designer shoes stopped inches from her hand. "You're here to clean our dirt, not pretend you're one of us." His friends erupted in laughter. Jasmine's jaw clenched, but she remained silent. She needed this job. Her daughter Maya needed medicine. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. "What's wrong?" Richard crouched down, his breath reeking of expensive whiskey. "Cat got your tongue? Or did you finally realize your place?" The elevator dinged. Every sound in the room died. Jasmine felt the shift before she saw him, a presence that made the air itself seem to hold its breath. Heavy footsteps, measured and deliberate. She finally looked up. Dante Romano stood in the doorway, and the world tilted on its axis. His dark eyes swept the scene with lethal precision, landing on Richard's hand still hovering near Jasmine's shoulder. Something deadly flickered across his face, something that made grown men confess their sins. "Mr. Romano," Richard stuttered, scrambling to his feet. You're early." Dante's gaze never left Jasmine. "I can see that. If you want to discover how this story began and what happened after this moment that changed everything, subscribe to the channel and leave in the comments where you're watching from. Each view helps bring more stories like this one." 3 hours earlier, Jasmine Carter had stood in the employee entrance of the luxury building, mentally preparing herself for another day of invisible existence. At 28, she had perfected the art of being unseen, a survival skill she'd learned the hard way. "Morning, Jas." Miguel, the security guard, offered a sympathetic smile. "Blackwell's penthouse again." She nodded, adjusting the heavy cleaning supplies in her arms. "Double shift, Maya needs her medication refilled." Miguel's expression softened. Everyone in the building knew about Maya, Jasmine's 6-year-old daughter with asthma. Everyone knew Jasmine worked 3 jobs to afford the treatments. Everyone pretended not to notice when she ate their leftover catered lunches. The service elevator was broken again, so Jasmine climbed 15 flights of stairs. Her legs burned, but she couldn't afford to be late. Richard Blackwell, heir to a real estate empire, had already threatened to fire her twice this month. Once for taking a bathroom break, once for existing in his line of sight while he was on a phone call. The penthouse was already full of people when she arrived, young, beautiful, dripping with wealth they'd never earned. They draped themselves across furniture that cost more than Jasmine would make in 5 years, drinking champagne that cost more than her monthly rent. "Oh good, the help is here," Richard announced, not looking up from his phone. "There's vomit in the guest bathroom. Stephanie had too much fun last night." Laughter rippled through the room. Jasmine's face burned, but she nodded and headed toward the bathroom. This was her life, cleaning up after people who saw her as less than human. The morning passed in a blur of scrubbing, polishing, and swallowing her dignity. She was mopping the marble entryway when her phone buzzed. A text from Maya's school nurse. "Maya had an attack during recess. She's okay now, but her inhaler is almost empty. Can you refill it today?" Jasmine's heart clenched. The inhaler cost $200. She had $73 in her account until Friday. She closed her eyes, fighting back tears. She'd figure it out. She always figured it out. "Excuse me, miss," a woman's voice dripped with sarcasm. "You missed a spot." Jasmine looked down at the floor she'd just cleaned. There was no spot. The woman, blonde, early 20s, dripping in diamonds, deliberately spilled her wine on the marble. "Oops," she said, her smile sharp as a knife. "Better get that before it stains." The group erupted in laughter. Jasmine's hands curled into fists, but she grabbed her mop. This was the price of survival. This was what it took to keep her daughter alive. Richard appeared from the kitchen, his eyes already glassy from day drinking. "You know what's funny?" he said loudly, making sure everyone was listening. "My father pays her more to clean this place than she'd make in an actual career. Isn't that generous?" More laughter. Jasmine kept her head down, kept scrubbing. "I mean, what else could someone like her do?" Richard continued, warming to his audience. "No education, no skills, probably had a kid at 16. I was 22, Jasmine said quietly, the words escaping before she could stop them. The room went silent. Richard's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Excuse me? Did you just talk back to me?" Jasmine's heart hammered, but something inside her, Something that had been pressed down for too long flickered to life. She straightened, meeting his eyes for the first time. "I was 22 when I had my daughter," she repeated, her voice stronger now. "And I have an associate's degree in business administration. I had to drop out of my bachelor's program when my daughter's father left and she was diagnosed with chronic asthma. I work 3 jobs because her medication costs $1,500 a month and insurance doesn't cover it all. So no, Mr. Blackwell, I don't do this because I lack options. I do this because I love my daughter more than I love my pride." The silence was deafening. Richard's face flushed red, his jaw working. Several people had their phones out, recording. This was entertainment for them, watching a rich man put a poor woman in her place. Richard moved closer, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "You're fired. Richard, your father hired me through the building management. I don't care." He grabbed her arm, his grip bruising. "Get out of my house." That's when the elevator dinged. That's when Dante Romano walked into a scene that would change everything. Dante Romano had built an empire on reading people, their tells, their weaknesses, their lies. In 35 years, he'd seen every shade of human nature, most of it ugly. He'd stopped being surprised by cruelty long ago. But something about the scene before him ignited a fury he hadn't felt in years. The woman on her knees wasn't cowering. Her spine was straight despite her position, her chin up despite the tears threatening to fall. She had the kind of dignity that couldn't be bought or taught, the kind forged in fire. And Richard Blackwell, spoiled trust fund baby, who'd never worked a day in his life, had his hand on her arm like she was his property. "Mr. Romano!" Richard released Jasmine immediately, his face cycling through expressions as he calculated his next move. "I didn't realize the meeting isn't until 3. I came early." Dante's voice was quiet, which anyone who knew him understood was infinitely more dangerous than shouting. His eyes remained on Jasmine, who'd frozen in place. "Who is she?" "Just the cleaning woman. She was being disrespectful, so I asked who she is, not what you were doing to her." Richard's throat bobbed. "Jasmine Carter. She works for the building management." Dante finally looked at Richard, and the younger man actually took a step back. Good. He should be afraid. "Everyone out." Dante's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Now." The penthouse cleared in seconds, Richard's friends practically tripping over themselves to reach the elevator. Richard hesitated, looking between Dante and Jasmine. "That includes you," Dante said softly. "But this is my—" "Out!" Richard fled. The silence that followed was profound. Jasmine remained on the floor, her cleaning supplies scattered around her. Slowly she began gathering them, her hands shaking. "Leave them," Dante said. "I need to—" "I said, leave them." He moved closer, and despite his reputation, despite the gun he knew she could probably see beneath his suit jacket, he crouched down to her level. "Look at me." She did. Her eyes were dark brown, filled with exhaustion, and barely contained fury and something else, something like hope she was too afraid to acknowledge. "Tell me what happened. All of it." "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." And somehow, impossibly, she believed him. Jasmine took a shaky breath and told him everything. The medication, the 3 jobs, Richard's cruelty, the woman spilling wine deliberately. She told him about the associate's degree she'd never gotten to use, about Maya and the asthma, and the father who'd vanished when he realized his daughter would be expensive to keep alive. Dante listened without interrupting, his jaw growing tighter with each word. When she finished, he stood and offered his hand. "How much?" he asked. "I'm sorry. How much for the medication? The inhaler that's almost empty?" Jasmine's pride flared. I'm not asking if you're asking. I'm telling you I'm paying. How much?" She stared at him, this beautiful, dangerous man who'd just cleared a room with 3 words and was now offering to pay for her daughter's medication like it was nothing. $200, she whispered. "But I can't accept." Dante pulled out his phone, typed something. "What's your daughter's pharmacy?" "Mr. Romano." "Dante. And the pharmacy?" "CVS on Madison." The words came out automatically, her exhausted brain unable to keep up with whatever was happening. He typed again, then pocketed his phone. "Done. They'll have it ready in an hour, paid in full for the next 6 months." Jasmine felt the room spin. 6 months. $1,200. Just gone from his account like it was pocket change. Why? The word came out broken. Dante tilted his head, studying her with an intensity that made her feel exposed and seen in equal measure. Because I understand what it means to fight for family. Because Richard Blackwell is a parasite who's never earned anything in his life. And because... He paused, something shifting behind his eyes. Because you remind me that there are still people worth protecting in this city. I don't need protection. No, he agreed, surprising her. You need opportunity. Tell me, Jasmine Carter, with an associate's degree in business administration, can you speak Italian? The question came out of nowhere. Yes, actually. I minored in it. I thought it might help with hospitality management someday before life happened, Dante finished. Do you have anything keeping you in this building? Just the job I was just fired from. Good. He straightened his suit, suddenly all business. I'm buying this building. Effective immediately, Blackwell's father will be selling his stake to me for an amount he won't be stupid enough to refuse. Richard will be informed he's no longer welcome on any property I own, which includes this one. And you're going to work for me. Jasmine's mind reeled. I don't understand. I need an assistant who speaks Italian. My business partner in Sicily is old-fashioned. He prefers face-to-face communication with someone who understands the language and the nuances. You'd handle correspondence, translation, coordinate meetings. Salary is $150,000 a year plus full health insurance. Actual health insurance that covers expensive medications. The number hit her like a physical blow. $150,000. She made $32,000 across her 3 jobs. That's not real. People don't just... I do. Dante handed her a business card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering. Romano Enterprises. You have a daughter to think about. Pride is expensive. Practicality keeps children alive. He moved toward the elevator, then paused. For what it's worth, Jasmine, I saw how you held your head up while they tried to push it down. That takes more strength than most people I know possess. Don't waste it scrubbing floors for people who'll never appreciate it. The elevator doors opened. He stepped inside, turned to face her. The job starts Monday. My office, 9 a.m. Don't be late. The doors closed, and Jasmine was alone in the penthouse holding a business card that felt like a winning lottery ticket and a loaded gun all at once. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your daughter's medication is ready. Everything's been paid through June. Also, you're not fired, you quit. There's a difference. DR. Jasmine sank onto the pristine white couch she'd never been allowed to sit on before, and for the first time in 6 years, she let herself cry tears that weren't from despair. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Jasmine stood outside Romano Enterprises at 8:45, wearing her only professional outfit, a charcoal grey suit she'd bought from a thrift store for college interviews she'd never gotten to attend. It was slightly too big, slightly out of style, but it was clean and pressed. The building was different from the luxury apartments she cleaned. This was power. All glass and steel and sharp edges that seemed to cut through the Manhattan skyline. Security waved her through after one phone call to Dante's office. His secretary, a sharp-eyed woman named Mrs. Chen, looked up as Jasmine approached. Ms. Carter, right on time. Mr. Romano appreciates punctuality. She handed Jasmine a tablet. Your first assignment. He needs you to translate this contract from English to Italian by noon. His partner in Palermo is particular about phrasing. Jasmine took the tablet, scanning the document. It was a property acquisition. Complex legal language that would require precision. Does he want a literal translation or one that captures the intent with cultural considerations? Mrs. Chen's eyebrow rose. The second one. But most translators don't think to ask that question. Most translators haven't had to negotiate rent increases with Italian landlords, Jasmine said dryly. A laugh came from the doorway. She's going to fit in perfectly. Dante stood there in a navy suit that probably cost more than Jasmine's entire year of college tuition, but it was his eyes she noticed, how they seemed less cold than they had in the penthouse, though no less intense. How's Maya? He asked. The fact that he remembered her daughter's name made something in Jasmine's chest tighten. Good, better. She hasn't had an attack since you paid for the medication. Good. He gestured toward his office. Come, I'll show you your workspace. Her workspace was an office adjoining his, smaller but still larger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the morning light spilling across a mahogany desk and leather chair. This is too much, Jasmine said immediately. It's adequate. Dante moved to his own office door. The Italian contract is your morning task. This afternoon, I need you to sit in on a meeting. Antonio Messina is flying in from Palermo. He's old guard, doesn't trust phone calls or emails. He'll appreciate having someone who speaks his language. What's the meeting about? Property acquisition in Sicily. Antonio owns land I need for a resort development. Jasmine nodded, trying to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. I'll have the contract ready by 11. I know, he paused. Jasmine, the men you'll meet in these meetings, they're not like Richard Blackwell. They're dangerous for different reasons. Stay close to me, don't speak unless I ask you to. And if anyone makes you uncomfortable, tell me immediately. Why would anyone make me uncomfortable? Dante's expression darkened. Because some men in my world don't understand boundaries, and because you work for me now, which means you're under my protection whether you asked for it or not. Before she could process that, he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. Jasmine spent the morning translating, her rusty Italian coming back faster than expected. The contract was complex, not just property acquisition, but partnerships, profit sharing, development rights. She could see the trap in the English version, language that would give the other party too much control. She restructured it in Italian, making the terms clearer, fairer. At 11:15, she knocked on Dante's door. Come in. He was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian with what sounded like frustration. He gestured for her to sit. She placed the tablet with the translated contract on his desk and waited. When he finished the call, he picked up the tablet, scanning her work. His eyebrows rose. You changed the terms. I clarified them. The original version gave Antonio Messina too much leverage. The way I phrased it in Italian, both parties have equal footing. If you want me to revert to the literal translation, no. He kept reading, something like approval flickering across his face. This is better. Much better. Where did you learn to negotiate in Italian? My landlord tried to double our rent when Maya was 2. I spent a week researching tenant rights and Italian contract law. He backed down. Dante laughed, an actual laugh that transformed his entire face. You went to war with an Italian landlord and won? I had a sick baby and no other options. Desperation makes you creative. His expression shifted, turning serious. That's what I need. Not just translation, perspective. The ability to see what I might miss, because I'm too close to it. Then you hired the right person. I know. The afternoon meeting proved more intense than Jasmine expected. Antonio Messina arrived with 2 bodyguards, silent, watchful men who positioned themselves by the door. Antonio himself was in his 60s, distinguished in a way that spoke of old money and older power. He greeted Dante with warmth, then his eyes landed on Jasmine. She felt the assessment, swift, thorough, dismissive. Dante, Antonio said in Italian, since when do you let women sit in on business? Jasmine's jaw clenched, but she remembered Dante's instructions. Stay quiet unless asked. Since I hired one smart enough to save us both from a bad deal, Dante replied smoothly, also in Italian. He gestured to Jasmine. Jasmine Carter, meet Antonio Messina. Jasmine translated our contract this morning. You might want to read her version before we proceed. Antonio took the tablet, his skepticism evident. He read for several minutes, his expression gradually changing from dismissive to surprised to impressed. This is very well done, he admitted, switching to accented English. You understand nuance. Thank you, Jasmine replied in Italian. I tried to honor both parties' needs while protecting my employer's interests. Antonio's eyes widened. Your Italian is excellent. Where did you learn? College and necessity. He laughed, a booming sound. I like her, Dante. She's got backbone and brains. Rare combination. The meeting proceeded smoothly, Antonio's initial resistance melting as Jasmine translated and occasionally offered perspective on cultural considerations. When they reached the profit-sharing clause, Antonio hesitated. This seems fair on paper, he said carefully, but in Sicily we have different understanding of partnership, more familial. Jasmine saw Dante's confusion. He was thinking purely in business terms. She leaned forward slightly. Mr. Messina, would you prefer a structure where profits are shared, but also where both parties have consultation rights on major decisions? So it's not just financial partnership, but operational collaboration. Antonio's face lit up. Exactly. Yes, that's what I mean. See, Dante. She understands. 2 hours later, they had a deal both parties were happy with, something Dante admitted had never happened this quickly with Antonio before. After Antonio left, Dante poured 2 glasses of whiskey. He offered one to Jasmine. I don't drink during work hours. You just saved me 6 months of negotiation. This counts as after hours. He handed her the glass. How did you know what he wanted? He kept using family words. Brother, trust, legacy. He doesn't just want a business deal, he wants to know his land will be respected, that his grandchildren won't curse his name for selling out. Dante studied her over his glass. You're wasted on translation. What do you mean? I mean you should be negotiating deals yourself, not just translating them. He set down his glass. But first, I need to know something. Why haven't you asked? Asked what? What I do. What Romano Enterprises really is. You're smart enough to have figured out I'm not just a businessman. Jasmine met his gaze steadily. I know you're dangerous. I know people fear you. I know your name carries weight that has nothing to do with legal business dealings. She paused. I also know you paid for my daughter's medication without asking for anything in return, that you got me out of a situation where I was being abused, and that you're giving me a chance most people in my position never get. So whatever else you are, Dante Romano, I've decided to trust you. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken things. You shouldn't, he said finally. Probably not, but I do anyway. That night, as Jasmine picked up Maya from her neighbor's apartment, her daughter threw her arms around her waist. Mama, Mrs. Chen said you didn't have to work tonight. Can we have dinner together? Jasmine froze. Maya, who's Mrs. Chen? She came this afternoon. She said she works with you and that Mr. Romano said you needed help with me sometimes, so she's going to watch me on nights when you have to work late. Is that okay? She's really nice and she brought me books. Jasmine's heart clenched. Dante had arranged childcare. Without asking, without making a big deal of it, he'd solved another problem she'd been too proud to mention. Later, after Maya was asleep, Jasmine's phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen is fully vetted and has worked with children for 30 years. If you prefer someone else, say so. But Maya needs stability, and you need to not worry about her when you're working late. This isn't charity. It's logistics. Dr. Jasmine typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on, thank you. His reply came immediately. Don't thank me yet. The real work starts tomorrow. Jasmine fell asleep, wondering what she'd gotten herself into, and why part of her couldn't wait to find out. 3 weeks into working for Dante, Jasmine had fallen into a rhythm she'd never thought possible. She woke up at a reasonable hour, 6 instead of 4. She had breakfast with Maya instead of rushing through morning shifts. Mrs. Chen picked Maya up from school, helped with homework, and stayed until Jasmine got home. For the first time in 6 years, Jasmine could breathe. But tonight, standing in Dante's penthouse office as he prepared for a meeting with people he'd specifically warned her about, that breath felt shallow. You don't have to be here, Dante said, adjusting his cufflinks. This meeting is volatile. You said you needed my Italian. I said I might need it. There's a difference. Jasmine crossed her arms. I work for you. Where you go, I go. Isn't that what you said about protection? His jaw tightened. Jasmine, are they more dangerous than Richard Blackwell? Because I survived him. Richard Blackwell is a spoiled child. Victor Constantine is a monster. The name hung in the air. Even Jasmine, who'd lived outside this world, had heard whispers of Victor Constantine. Russian mob, ruthless, brutal. Why are you meeting with him? Because he's trying to muscle into territory I control. Better to negotiate than go to war. Dante moved closer, his voice dropping. But negotiations with men like Victor can turn violent. Fast. If anything happens, anything at all, you run. Don't think, don't hesitate. Just run. And leave you? I can handle myself. You can't. The words should have stung, but Jasmine heard the protection beneath them. Then teach me. Dante's eyebrows rose. What? You said I can't handle myself. So teach me. I've spent my whole life surviving. I can learn to do it better. Something shifted in his expression. Respect mixing with concern. This isn't about survival skills, Jasmine. This is about... The elevator dinged. Dante's entire demeanor changed. The man who'd been almost gentle with her vanished, replaced by someone cold and lethal. Stay behind me. Don't speak unless I tell you to. And please, please, be careful. Victor Constantine entered with 4 men, all armed. He was smaller than Jasmine expected, average height, slim build, but his eyes were dead, completely empty. "Romano," Victor said, his accent thick, "I hear you wanted to talk. I hear you've been expanding into the docks, my docks. Docks don't belong to anyone. They belong to who controls them. Then we have a problem." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Victor's men shifted, hands moving toward weapons. Dante remained perfectly still, but Jasmine could feel the coiled violence in him. "Perhaps," Victor said slowly, "we find compromise. You give me access 3 nights a week. I give you 30% of profits." Doors, Dante countered, "You stay in your territory, I stay in mine, and nobody has to explain to their families why they're not coming home." Victor smiled, a terrible expression. "I could just take them. You could try." The standoff stretched, seconds feeling like hours. Then Victor's gaze shifted to Jasmine. "Who is this?" He moved toward her. "Pretty thing. She work for you?" "She's my associate, and she's off limits." Victor circled Jasmine like a predator. She forced herself to remain still, to not show the fear screaming through her veins. "What kind of associate?" Victor reached out, about to touch her hair. Dante moved faster than Jasmine could track. One moment he was across the room, the next his hand was locked around Victor's wrist, stopping him inches from Jasmine. "I said off limits." Dante's voice was arctic. Victor's men drew weapons. Dante's men, Jasmine hadn't even noticed them entering, did the same. 8 guns, all pointed at each other. "You would start a war over a woman?" Victor asked, genuinely curious. "I would end one." Dante released Victor's wrist. "She's under my protection. That means her safety matters more to me than peace. Choose wisely." The 2 men stared at each other. Jasmine's heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Finally, Victor laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "You've changed, Romano. The Dante I knew wouldn't care about one woman. People change." "We'll see." Victor gestured to his men. "The docks are yours for now, but this conversation isn't over." He left, his men following. Only when the elevator doors closed did Dante release the breath he'd been holding. "Are you okay?" He turned to Jasmine, his hands coming up to grip her shoulders, eyes scanning her for injury. "Did he hurt you?" "I'm fine." "You stopped him." "I almost didn't get there in time." "If he'd touched you." "But he didn't." Jasmine covered his hands with hers, trying to ground him. "Dante, I'm okay." He pulled her into his arms without warning, holding her tight enough that she could feel his heart racing. "You shouldn't be here. This world, it's not for people like you. People like me? Good people. People who deserve better than violence and fear." Jasmine pulled back enough to see his face. "What if I don't want to be somewhere else? What if I choose to be here?" "You don't know what you're choosing." "Then tell me. Tell me what you are, what this is. No more half-truths." Dante stepped back, running a hand through his hair. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. "I'm the head of the Romano family, what you'd call Mafia. My family has controlled certain aspects of New York for 3 generations. Import, export, protection, property. Some legal, some less so." He met her eyes. "I've done things that would horrify you. Hurt people. Worse. I'm not a good man, Jasmine. You saved me. That doesn't erase everything else." "No," she agreed, but it means something. You could have walked past me in that penthouse. You didn't. You could have given me money and sent me away. You didn't. You could have let Victor touch me tonight. You didn't. Because the thought of anyone hurting you makes me want to burn the world down." The words came out raw, honest. "And that should terrify you." "It should," Jasmine whispered. "But it doesn't." The space between them felt electric. Dante lifted his hand, almost touching her face, then stopped. "If I touch you," he said quietly, "I won't want to stop." "Then don't." His control snapped. He cupped her face, tilted her head back, and kissed her like he'd been dying of thirst and she was water. Jasmine gasped against his mouth, her hands fisting in his jacket, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "This is a mistake," he murmured. "Probably. You could get hurt. People around me get hurt. I've been hurt before. I survived." "Jasmine, stop trying to protect me from you, Dante. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you." His phone buzzed, then again, then a third time insistent. He pulled away, checking it, and his expression went from soft to lethal in an instant. "What is it?" "Victor. He didn't leave the building. He went to the parking garage." Dante was already moving, pulling a gun from his desk drawer. "My men just found a bomb under your car." The world tilted. "My car? Why would he?" "Because he knows hurting you hurts me." Dante pulled her toward the private elevator. "We're leaving. Now." "But—" "Now, Jasmine." They were in the elevator when Dante's phone rang. He answered, listened, and went perfectly still. "What?" Jasmine demanded. He lowered the phone slowly. "Victor's men just left your apartment building. They didn't plant anything, but they wanted you to know they know where you live, where Maya is." Jasmine's knees buckled. Dante caught her, holding her up. "He's going after my daughter? He's showing me what he can take if he wants to." Dante's voice was deadly calm, the calm before a hurricane. "Mrs. Chen already has Maya. They're at a safe house. Nobody can find her there." "How did you—" "Because I planned for this. The moment you started working for me, I planned for this." He guided her out of the elevator into the parking garage, where 3 black SUVs waited. "Get in. We're going to the safe house. You and Maya are staying there until Victor is handled." Handled? Dealt with. Permanently. The word hung between them, heavy with implication. Dante was going to kill Victor Constantine, because Victor had threatened Jasmine, had threatened Maya. "No," Jasmine said. "What?" "No. You're not starting a war because of me." "Jasmine, I won't be responsible for people dying." Dante gripped her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. "Listen to me. This isn't your fault. Victor made his choice when he threatened you, when he threatened an innocent child. This was going to happen eventually. He's been pushing boundaries for months. You're just the excuse, not the cause." "But no buts. Maya is in danger. You are in danger, and I will burn this entire city to ash before I let anything happen to either of you. That's not negotiable." Jasmine saw it then, the depth of whatever this was between them. It wasn't just attraction or convenience. This was something that had taken root fast and deep, something neither of them had planned for. "Promise me something," she whispered. "Anything. Promise me you'll come back, that you won't get yourself killed protecting me." Dante's expression softened. "I have something to come back to now. That changes everything." He kissed her once more, soft, promising, then put her in the SUV. "Take her to the house," he told the driver. "Anyone follows you, anyone even looks suspicious, you call me immediately." "Yes, sir." Dante stepped back, his eyes on Jasmine. "I'll handle this. Trust me." Then he was gone, and Jasmine was speeding through Manhattan toward a safe house, toward her daughter, toward a future that suddenly felt both terrifying and full of possibility. The safe house was a brownstone in Brooklyn, unassuming from the outside, fortified like a bunker inside. Mrs. Chen met Jasmine at the door, and Jasmine barely registered the greeting before she was rushing to find Maya. Her daughter was in the living room, playing with blocks, completely unaware that her world had just tilted toward danger. "Mama!" Maya looked up, her face lighting up. "Mrs. Chen said we're having a sleepover. Can we make popcorn?" Jasmine swept Maya into her arms, holding her so tight that her daughter squirmed. "Mama, you're squishing me." "Sorry, baby. I just missed you. I saw you this morning." "I know." Jasmine pulled back, smoothing Maya's hair. "Are you okay? Did anything strange happen today?" "Nope. We did art at school, and I drew you and me and Mrs. Chen. Want to see?" "Of course." Jasmine spent the next hour immersed in Maya's world. Drawings and stories and questions about whether they could get a dog someday. It was so beautifully normal that Jasmine wanted to cry. Mrs. Chen made dinner while Jasmine helped Maya with homework. They were reading together when Jasmine's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "They found Victor at the docks. He won't be a problem anymore. I'm coming to you. D." Relief and dread hit Jasmine simultaneously. Victor was handled, whatever that meant, but Dante was coming here to the safe house, and Maya would see him. Maya would start asking questions Jasmine didn't know how to answer. An hour later, headlights illuminated the windows. Jasmine tucked Maya into bed, one of the upstairs bedrooms, and went downstairs. Dante looked exhausted. His suit was disheveled, his hair mussed, but he was alive and whole, and Jasmine felt something in her chest unclench. "It's done?" she asked. "It's done. Victor's in federal custody. Turns out he had multiple warrants. Anonymous tip about his location. He'll be in prison for the rest of his life. You didn't kill him." "I thought about it." Dante moved closer. "But you asked me to come back. Killing him would have meant going to war with his organization. That meant risk, and I have too much to come back to now to take unnecessary risks. Jasmine closed the distance between them, wrapping her arms around his waist. He held her back, his chin resting on top of her head. "Thank you," she whispered, "for protecting her, for protecting us. You don't need to thank me for that. You'll never need to thank me for that." "Mama?" They both froze. Jasmine turned to see Maya on the stairs, rubbing her eyes. "Who's that?" Maya asked, looking at Dante with open curiosity. "This is—" Jasmine looked at Dante helplessly. "I'm Dante," he said, crouching down to Maya's level. "I work with your mum." "Are you her boss?" "Something like that." Maya studied him with the brutal honesty of a 6-year-old. "You look like a prince from my storybooks, but scarier." Dante laughed, a genuine, surprised sound. "That's pretty accurate, actually. Why are you here? Did something bad happen?" "Something bad almost happened," Jasmine said, moving to Maya's side. "But Dante made sure we were safe. That's why we're having a sleepover here." "Oh." Maya looked between them. "Are you Mama's boyfriend?" Jasmine felt her face heat. "Maya, would that be okay with you if I was?" Dante asked seriously, treating the question with the gravity it deserved. Maya considered this. "Do you make Mama smile?" "She doesn't smile much usually." "I try to." "Then it's okay." Maya yawned. "Can you carry me back to bed? I'm tired." Before Jasmine could intervene, Dante picked Maya up with surprising gentleness. He carried her upstairs, Jasmine following, and tucked her into bed like he'd done it 1,000 times. "Good night, Maya," he said softly. "Night, Prince Dante." Maya was already half asleep. Downstairs, Jasmine and Dante sat in the living room, the silence comfortable now. "She's amazing," Dante said finally. "She is. She's the best thing I've ever done. You're good at this, being a mother." "I try. I fail a lot." "Failure is still trying. That's what matters." He reached for her hand, threading their fingers together. "Jasmine, I need to tell you something." Her heart stuttered. "What?" "When I thought Victor might hurt you, might hurt Maya, I realized something. This isn't just about protecting you because you work for me. This isn't just attraction or convenience." He met her eyes. "I'm falling in love with you, and that terrifies me more than any enemy ever has." Jasmine's breath caught. "Dante, you don't have to say anything. I just need you to know, whatever this is between us, it's real for me. You're real for me, both of you. You barely know me. I know you work 3 jobs to keep your daughter alive. I know you stand up to cruel men even when you're terrified. I know you learned Italian to fight your landlord. I know you see possibilities in contracts that I miss. I know you make your daughter smile even when you're exhausted. I know you're the strongest person I've ever met." He lifted her hand, kissed her knuckles. "That's enough." Jasmine felt tears slip down her cheeks. "I'm scared of this, of you, of how much I want this to be real." "Me too. I have a daughter to think about. I can't just—" "I know, and I wouldn't ask you to put her at risk. That's why I'm telling you now, giving you the choice, because if you choose me, you're choosing my world too. The danger, the complications, all of it." Jasmine thought about the past 3 weeks. The stability, the breathing room, the feeling of being seen and valued. She thought about tonight, how Dante had moved heaven and earth to keep Maya safe. She thought about how he'd crouched down to talk to a 6-year-old like her opinion mattered. "I choose you," she whispered. "I'm terrified, and it's probably stupid, and I have no idea how to make this work. But I choose you." Dante pulled her close, kissing her with a gentleness that made her heart ache. "We'll figure it out together." "Together," she agreed. They sat in the living room as night deepened into morning, making plans for a future that suddenly seemed possible. Jasmine would continue working for Dante. She loved the work, the challenge. Maya would stay in her school, but with security, discreet, invisible, but there. They would take it slow, let Maya adjust, make sure she felt safe and loved every step of the way. "What about your family?" Jasmine asked. "Do they know about me?" "They will soon. My mother's going to love you. She's been telling me I need to find someone who doesn't take my shit for years." "And your father?" Dante's expression clouded. "My father died 5 years ago. Heart attack. He was complicated, loved his family fiercely but did terrible things to protect us. I'm trying to be different. Better. You are better. You're choosing to be. Because of you." Morning light was filtering through the windows when Maya came downstairs, finding them asleep on the couch. Dante sitting up, Jasmine curled against his chest, his arm around her protectively even in sleep. "Mrs. Chen," Maya whispered loudly. "They're cuddling." Mrs. Chen appeared, took one look at them, and smiled. "Let them sleep, sweetheart. They had a long night. Is Prince Dante staying?" "I think he might be," Mrs. Chen said. "Is that okay with you?" Maya considered this with the seriousness only children possess. "Yeah, Mama looks happy when he's here. I like when she's happy." "Me too, Maya. Me too." 2 years later, Jasmine stood in the garden of the Romano family estate in upstate New York, watching Maya race through the flowers with Dante in pursuit. Her daughter's laughter echoed across the property, bright and free. "Caught you!" Dante scooped Maya up, spinning her around. At 8, Maya was still small enough to be lifted, though Dante complained she was getting too big too fast. "Again! Do it again!" Maya demanded. "Give me a break, Principessa. I'm an old man." "You're not old, tell him, Mama." Jasmine laughed, one hand resting on her slightly rounded belly. "He's ancient, practically a fossil." Dante set Maya down, moved to Jasmine, and pulled her close. "Careful, Mrs. Romano. That's disrespectful to your husband." The title still thrilled her. They'd married quietly 6 months ago, small ceremony, close family, Maya as flower girl. Nothing like the elaborate society weddings Dante could have demanded. Instead, he'd given Jasmine exactly what she wanted. Intimate, meaningful, real. "What are you thinking about?" Dante asked, reading the expression on her face. "That I still can't believe this is my life." "Our life. Our life," she corrected, kissing him softly. "Oh, kissing," Maya called out, running past them toward the house where Dante's mother was probably preparing enough food to feed an army. Jasmine's phone buzzed. A text from the university where she'd just completed her bachelor's degree in business administration. After 2 years of night classes while working for Dante and raising Maya, she'd finally finished what she'd started a decade ago. "Congratulations, Jasmine. Your thesis on ethical business practices in non-traditional industries received the highest honors. We'd love to discuss your graduate studies options." "Good news?" Dante asked, reading over her shoulder. "They want me to consider grad school." "You should do it. It's a lot of time." "You have time. You have help. You have me." He placed his hand over hers on her belly, over the child they'd made together. "And this little one will grow up watching their mother prove that you can overcome anything. That seems important." Jasmine leaned back against him, watching the life they'd built spread out before her. The estate, the family, the future. It wasn't perfect. Dante's work still involved danger, still required discretion, but they'd built something solid beneath the complexity. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked quietly. "Walking into that penthouse that day? Everything that came after?" Dante turned her in his arms, lifting her chin so she had to meet his eyes. "Regret finding you? Regret Maya? Regret this?" He gestured to the life surrounding them. "Never. Not for a single second. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Jasmine Carter Romano. You and Maya and this family we're building. Everything else is just noise." "I love you," she whispered. "I know. And I love you. Always will." Maya's voice called from the house, something about lunch being ready. Dante took Jasmine's hand, threading their fingers together the way he'd done 1,000 times now, and they walked toward the house, toward family, toward a future that had seemed impossible 2 years ago. As they reached the door, Jasmine looked back at the garden one more time, at the space where she'd stood so many times, marveling at the journey that had brought her here. From scrubbing floors to standing in a mansion as Dante Romano's wife, as a respected professional, as a woman who'd proven that circumstances don't define potential. "You coming?" Dante asked, holding the door open. "Yeah," Jasmine said, smiling at the man who'd seen her when she was invisible to everyone else. "I'm coming." She stepped through the door into warmth and laughter and love, leaving the past behind and walking confidently into a future she'd chosen for herself. This story has come to an end. If it touched your heart in some way, leave your like and share it with someone who also enjoys emotional stories. New stories are coming soon. Until next time.